renewal through injury? Do I have enough a perfect capacity to deal with that simulation? If not, I'm creating scarring. Okay, it's like a double-edged sword, and you're going to have some kind of imperfect recovery.
Things like Morpheus are such a confusing topic for so many people, and also something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of.
A series of studies showing that stress signals related by the skin, whether chronic or acute, age the skin and therefore the body through that hijacking of the HPA axis.
And I get so many questions about this specifically, and I just think that your explanations when it comes to laser treatments, specifically things like Morpheus, are such a confusing topic for so many people, and also something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. And, when I do my Q&As and when I'm always mentioning, avoid certain things like, invasive lasers, or sometimes what we talked about, the lasers that really don't do anything, and, constant waste of money. Like you said, that they, never actually do what they promise. And then really the issues with radiofrequency and microneedling and the scarring that people are not really aware of. I would love to kind of talk about all those on different levels. So just dive in.
Do you think it's worth it, and I'll take your lead on it, do you think it's worth to explain that there are that different wave-based devices are targeting different tissue? Like basically they have a different hierarchy of where they get absorbed. Therefore, that's kind of what dictates what they damage, for better or for worse. And then, we it's almost like we can start by saying you need to layer your skincare thin to thick, right? Mm-hmm. And that people understand, oh yeah, now I understand, I want to put my serum before my moisturizer, right? I think there is a distinction like that also in what we call rejuvenation procedures, where things like lasers, they are designed to basically create damage from the outside in, whereas things like high frequency ultrasound or radio frequency are designed to create damage not to the surface, but actually like specifically somewhere in the tissue. So that's, I think, the first distinction. And first of all, that's something that we should be aware of, because I was speaking to an owner of a billionaire owner of a facility in Brickell in Miami. Mm-hmm. And normally when, I think I told you this already, when we have a saying that when money meets experience, normally money gets the experience and experience gets all the money. So that is true in her case. Like the amount of money she's getting convinced in kind of spending is obviously endless. And we can see it with people like Brian Johnson and the amount of equipment that he bought. And you can hear the stories that the companies are telling him about that product. And I was talking about radio frequency to her, and it blew her mind that it can damage that it could create any negative effect, because obviously the person who sold her the device never told her anything like that.
Right. So they only promise the amazing results and, sell them the dream of these, and for me specifically, when I did Morpheus 8, that it's, skin tightening, and that it also in different depths can help burn fat, which I never touched my face with it. I did my stomach. So you obviously want to burn a little fat. You want to tighten the skin. And then the neck area, which I used for skin tightening. And then when you brought to my attention the thyroid, that I have not talked about yet because I can't speak to it, with all of the background. But that was something that was such a big alarm bell for me, because I have done so many treatments, maybe like 5 or 6 on my neck, where the thyroid is with radio frequency. And I don't think anybody is considering what that is doing to the thyroid. And like you said, when it comes to the scarring and the tissue underneath, if I ever want to get like a, neck lift or anything, is that even going to be possible? Or a tummy tuck, like those things that, I don't think anybody knows this kind of stuff.
So you know what? I'm going to, I will try to, this is really a PSA, right? So I really want to try and like be interesting and jump straight to the point. So I think I'll start with lasers, just because I believe it's hierarchically, it's definitely the least dangerous, but also I think like most other rejuvenation devices, they are overly exaggerated. And let's start with a question that the great and powerful Jean Falacara said here in the comments. Cyborg Games is his name, but he asked about publications. So first and foremost, the only people that have the incentive in publishing studies on a specific laser is the company who made that laser, and that can claim anything around that apparatus specifically.
And it's biased. It's based on the one positive result that they would probably see out of hundreds that are just minuscule and not really.
And I'll give one example. So there was a type of a device that showed a result as far as like skin rejuvenation. And in order to get that result, they literally, true story, they sent like 4 people to live in a very polluted city in North Africa, in Cairo, where it's one of the most polluted cities in the world, because the study was in Europe. So they sent them to Cairo. They literally on purpose exposed them to very high levels of oxidative stress, which then part of the pulsed light that this company was engaged in then showed reduction of. Okay, so like I think it's like super important to understand that these are biased studies, and a lot of the times when they are getting published by, whatever major publication it is involving money, and it also involves a lot of times what this publication is interested in is maybe the ability to measure different things. Like it can be that you did a great job in the study, but it's not necessarily because they are interested in wrinkle removal or not. They're like, oh my God, it was a great idea to test the skin in the way that you did. So that's number one important, very important. If we're, what I'm going to say about lasers are, so what are the benefits and what are some of the drawbacks? Benefits is that, or I would say the pros is that you really are not jeopardizing anything severely long-term.
Right.
Okay. So you're not jeopardizing any mechanical alterations to the tissue. Meaning, the worst that can happen is that you're going to have less vibrant skin because you didn't, the technician and yourself didn't do a good job. And what I mean by that is, if you are aiming too deep, if you're not taking into account the state of that tissue, you are going to get adverse results or not great results. But in general, laser is not the end of the world, and that's a very, very wide statement. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we have new laser companies coming out.
I know.
I
can't keep up with all of them at this point. It's just too much, and that's where I put lasers under the category of like big beauty, which to me is just a saturated market that is money. You are more zero results.
You don't even know how correct you are. It's because you will concur with what I'm saying right now, is that in the last like 5, 7, 10 years, we've seen the domination from Korean companies in that market. Why is that? It's because it's all Chinese money that cannot say made in China. So the Chinese money of beauty innovation is invested in Korean companies, but that is, significantly more money than other companies can generate. Normally, it's in the more generic type treatments, like, for example, radiofrequency microneedling or lasers. But I'm going to say something like that. If someone does engage in lasers, and I know you don't like lasers like Halo or anything like big companies. Like Cyton, which is a company that, like everything that we just said is by a company called Cyton. But there are like 4 companies in the world or 5. I would say something like that. If you are going to engage in something like that, you have to become a rejuvenation athlete. What does it mean?
Tom Brady.
It means Tom Brady. You need to, you need to be the Tom Brady of rejuvenation.
Yeah.
You need to have a pristine life in order to get the best results out of these treatments. Why is that? It's because we are asking the skin to recover from an assault, from an injury, in the best way possible. It is exactly like an athlete, because when you are going to the gym, you're not growing your muscles or burning fat, actually, or doing anything that is creating a positive results in the gym. The gym is your laser. The gym is the stimulation for repair. You are then, growing your muscles, whatever that may be, at home, when you rest, when you're recovering. That is what you're basically stimulating. You're stimulating the body recovering and creating a tissue that is more that appears younger than it was. And here's where we're getting to the crux of it. It's that actually biologically you're aging the tissue. Okay, when you are stimulating renewal through injury, not a micro injury, an injury that needs time to recover, okay, so that you have some downtime. What it means to the skin specifically, it means the skin is super fickle. It means that immediately the skin is going to say, do I have enough, a perfect capacity to deal with that stimulation? If not, I'm creating scarring. Okay, it's like a double-edged sword, and you're going to have some kind of imperfect recovery,
which is most people, by the way. And I mean, this is generalizing, but I think the standard is most people are using lasers or being sold laser treatments based on like a quick fix kind of option. They aren't coming to the appointment as a Tom Brady of overall skin health and rejuvenation already, right? Like they've tried probably a lot of different things and treatments and products. And they're kind of maybe frustrated with the results and they just want something more intense. And then they go for something like a laser. And sure, maybe some people have, a minuscule positive result. And then you have the other side, which is just constant, negative effects or zero results. And we're talking thousands of dollars. Like I remember I used to have to sell these. I worked in a med spa. I would have to sell these outrageous $10,000 packages. And I would watch these women come in and out. And I'm like, your skin doesn't look any better. In fact, it doesn't. I haven't done one of these lasers and my skin looks better than yours. So I'm not going to do these. These are not something that I find to be worth the money or beneficial. IPL is probably the only one that I'm like, okay, you got rid of some brown spots. Yeah. But I saw somebody ask about, CO2 lasers and Fraxel. CO2 is something to me that could be considered maybe when you're, in your 60s, 70s, because at that point, you're not going to care as much maybe about your barrier damage. You just want, a whole new face. But you're never going to be able to touch skin again. We talked about this sun again. We talked about this on your podcast. Yeah. If you go and get a CO2 laser, you better stay in a cave the rest of your life. I'm not saying that like you won't get an amazing result from it. You might, but the minute you step in the sun, your skin is so thin and so delicate. That's not worth it to me. That is not worth the treatment. Yeah, and to be very quick about that, because I think it's besides the point, but just because a few people have asked how they work, and I would say lasers normally are in a wavelength about 1100 to 1500 nanometers, which these are wavelengths that absorb mainly in water. So what happens is you're creating friction in the skin. And obviously the skin has a lot of water and you're basically destroying that tissue, you're creating heat and destroying that tissue. IPL is slightly different, where it's designed to be absorbed in like pigment, for example. Mm-hmm. So you're destroying that pigment, which then you're counting on the body to disperse those damaged melanin clusters evenly, or create a more even pigment. And again, you're now creating a need for recovery and etc. But I actually don't want to go all sciencey here. But this is kind of the difference between the two. Sure, and that makes perfect sense. And people asking about acne scarring and ice pick scarring. This is something again that we talked about in the podcast, where I would say it would depend on what your priorities are. If your scarring is so bad that it is something that affects your daily life that you've been dealing with for years, I would, say, okay, maybe a CO2 or something really crazy is worth the barrier damage in order to get more of that result. There is a place for these treatments for certain circumstances. There are some people out there that are really not able to get, rid of ice pick scarring with just some, products. That's not necessarily going to be what's going to change that scarring texture for them.
But I would say, besides the point about those kind of, if about those filling in some kind of missing material, okay, which is very different than, for example, lesions or something that is protruding above the surface of the skin. These are actually really nicely reduced over a large period of time with series of, for example, microneedling, chemical peels or enzymatic peels that are done very, very, very gradually and very gently. That's the major point. No, if you do anything, and again, you feel the urge of posting a story how you are peeling completely like a snake, you've overdone that. Okay, so that's not the point. The point is very minimal, something like that. But what we really are doing is we're removing top layers of the skin, and we're kind of helping the skin surface deeper layers. And obviously things, by the way, like I'm hesitant to say a certain peptide because it's experimental, and you need to go on a website that sells it as an experimental. But peptides like LL37, which is normally
I've taken it.
Yeah, great. It's normally antifungal, but it does help trigger the basal cells, the skin stem cells.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard this. Obviously, I always lean towards GHK copper.
Yeah. So I'll give you like an interesting this. So if anyone ever heard about a brand called Defenage, DEFEN, and then like they have some weird logo. It's purple. It's sold by dermatologists. It is a derivative of LL37. It's a frag of LL37, and their whole spiel, which actually is not incorrect, is that they activate stem cells around the hair follicle, like skin stem cells around the hair follicle.
Oh, interesting.
We use it in a specific product, which is called ProCare, which normally we talk about the senolytic aspect of it, but it does have that effect as well. And this is very good also to prevent some adipose tissue thinning. So like fat loss in the face.
Okay.
It helps to prevent some of it. LL37 does, and its derivatives. So all in all, good. Microneedling, great, just not with the radio frequency. And I think here we're going to go one layer deeper. And of course, we can go back if I missed something to see a question.
I would love to get into Morpheus if you can.
Yes. So radio frequency, or RF, is a wavelength. It's a longer wavelength, and actually it doesn't matter a lot of the times what we're going to see in like whether the very saturated market of like radio frequency, of red light therapy, the very saturated market of like radio frequency, any saturated market, we're going to see people. If you remember there is a TV series that they were like really marketing geniuses. It was Don Draper. What's the name of that series?
Oh, Mad Men.
Mad Men.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the series, they were talking about selling Lucky Strikes cigarettes, and he's like, okay, walk me through what you guys are doing. Well, blah blah blah. We toast our tobacco. He's like, it's toasted.
Yeah.
And then he's like, everyone toasts their tobacco. Well, no one says they do, right? So you're going to have a lot of devices that are saying something that doesn't help the treatment at all, but it's a feature no one else talked about until that point. So they kind of champion that feature. So within those wave-based devices, in radio frequency, it's going to be, we use a longer wavelength or a different wavelength than anyone else. The bottom line is this. What radio frequency does, this family, is getting absorbed deeper in the tissue, like 3 millimeters into the tissue. It actually depends on 1 to 3 millimeters into the tissue. It depends on what the technician works with, and of course, microneedling radiofrequency provides basically the needles penetrate the skin, and the radio frequency is communicated between the needles. So we're getting a more concentrated wave rather than a wave that comes from the surface. All of those, the way that they work is by heating up the tissue. Since they still have absorption in water, even if you dial it to the lowest, blah, 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 whatever, you still get serious damage to the vasculature, to the blood vessels. If all of us can do one thing for skin health, is get more blood to the skin, okay? So de facto, the same way I said before that lasers call on reservoirs that are saved for later in the skin to recover. Therefore, we are actually aging our skin biologically, whether it is a choice someone's making or not. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't do it, but actually something we spoke about in context of Botox, you and I, is the context of less blood circulation. Less blood circulation because of RF leads to aging of the tissue. That's number one, okay? Number two, we are creating an inflamed tissue. Normally, I'm going to take a protocol by, I hate to name names, but it's a protocol by Morpheus 8, okay?
Yeah, we're going to say the names.
So Morpheus 8 says, basically, they are very, very sneaky. They said one treatment can provide results 4 to 6 months. And then they're saying, we recommend 4 treatments within like 2 months. Okay. So what are we doing? What we're doing is we're actually inflaming the tissue to an extent which is apparent as if we've gained volume. And that tissue then resolves that inflammation for about 4 to 6 months. Okay. Now I want you to consider that when I say inflammation, you can translate it. Anyway, I have an accent. So imagine I said information. Okay. Inflammation and information are synonymous in the body. So what I'm doing is I'm providing information to the tissue that it needs to recover. But because the information isn't resolved immediately, it causes chronic inflammation because you already have information in your tissue. The information for recovery is heard less by your cells. They already are dealing with some information they're trying to act upon. It's like if someone's listening to us now and there's loud noise in the background. That is what chronic inflammation is, or unresolved inflammation is, to the conversation of renewal. Okay? Yeah. So now we've created that expansion of the tissue, and because it is not on the surface of the skin, even though we can be sensitive, etc., because it's not on the surface of the skin, we are basically thinking, a month later, and a couple sessions later, that we are starting to see the results. The body's working on it. It resolves that inflammation by creating scar tissue. Even when, by the way, even when we or the company can show results in collagen, you need to understand collagen and scarring are one of the same so scarring is collagen as well. Okay. Collagen is like elastic, nice, plump collagen is collagen. Mm-hmm. And when collagen is structured in a more bound way, basically in a tighter expression. So the matrix is woven more tightly, mm-hmm. and some other things that I'm not referring to now. But when that scar formation is built, that is collagen as well. If someone looks at my funny ear because I do jujitsu, you see my ear has some cauliflower. Yeah. That's collagen as well. That is collagen. If you touched my ear, this is hard like a pebble. It's collagen as well. So what we're getting is, but this resolution is significantly less girthy than the inflammation that was resolved. So what the patient thinks is that the results went away. Think about it. We created a scar. We created collagen a scar. But we lose, in air quotes, 1% of collagen a year. So how come, if the treatment was good, how come the results went away? What happened there? What happened is that now you have scar tissue there. You have less blood supply. And then you're going to come back to your provider and say, hey, the results went away. Is it time for me to get a new series of fill in the blank, of radiofrequency, microneedling, whatever? Here, by the way, I really need to make sure we have touched on it, but I think it's important to distinguish between standalone microneedling that someone does and radiofrequency microneedling.
That's why I specifically say Morpheus8. I mean, I know there's others out there, but that's the most popular that people know. This is kind of the main one that I'm referring to when I talk about.
A lot of times you'll hear polar radiofrequency or bipolar radiofrequency or tripolar radiofrequency is more for the body, but that's completely different. It's like saying both painting on a canvas and applying, acid to your face are the same treatment because both use a brush, right? It's like there's no connection between the two. I would argue there's no connection between at-home microneedling and in-office microneedling as well. That's a different issue. But anyway, so that's radio frequency. All we are doing is we're playing the game of the results that you think you're getting is actually inflammation.
Yes.
And the lack of result you think you're digressing to are the results that you get to keep. Okay. And by the way, go follow whatever plastic surgeon you like. I recommend people like Dr. Cameron Chestnut, Dr. Karam, anyone that is more advanced, more kind of biohacky or longevity, or Dr. Daniel Barrett, people who are more kind of biohacky. Once in a blue moon, they will show you a big surgery opening of the tissue, and they'll tell you, hey, this is, HIFU, or this is radiofrequency microneedling. Look what it does to the tissue. Okay. Now the perfect question came up, which is thermage the same?
I was gonna say, is that the same?
Well, let's take the high frequency ultrasound or even deeper waves.
All therapy.
The simple answer is yes. The more complicated answer is they are actually worse. So they penetrate deeper into the tissue.
Yeah.
When you say more concentrated within or more selective within the parameters that we're using, it's not necessarily better, because it means that we can create the damage that would have been shared by different tissues to a specific, even more precise depths. And normally not normally, always what it means that there is actually more damage. It's like a sharper knife. You're getting more damage in an area that we really shouldn't be reaching. These thermal based, so basically every time we're doing something thermal, everything we mentioned until now, and I think this is why people, if I would have said what I'm going to say right now in the beginning, I think people would have inferred on their own that there is that microneedling and radiofrequency microneedling are very different. Why? Everything that we've discussed that we have a problem with right now is a wave that is turned into heat. Okay? That's the problem. The problem is that when you are creating a heat deep in the tissue, that is non-selective to the most part. So it's going to destroy, again, blood vessels, whatever we want to say about that. But we're going to get a tissue that is damaged across the board, all of the parts there, including immune components, immune system components, including, by the way, and that's something that I think you're going to hear a lot of people saying to you after this, if they have listened, oh my God, I've had this and I don't know why. I didn't know why. We are also stressing something called the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis in the brain. So there is something called the skin-brain axis, a highway from our skin to our brain that interprets stress signals and then having this brain, this center in the brain that is responsible for the release of catecholamines, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol, among others. And basically, you're stressing that system out. That is not only short term, that not only going to cause anything from anxiety to disorientation, confusion, fuzziness, lack of mental sharpness, etc. You're also actually aging the brain. These responses, there's publications since the great and powerful Jean Falacara asked for publications. That's out of Portuguese series of studies showing that stress signals related by the skin, whether chronic or acute, age the skin and therefore the body through that hijacking of the HPA axis.
That makes sense.
So you're aging your brain by stressing your skin in that level.
Yeah, and I could see that being a big factor in some of these treatments. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, you're putting this intense pain. I mean, this is why we have to use numbing cream, which I just posted about recently, that I don't know why I never considered how toxic that is going into your bloodstream. And on top of it, with radiofrequency, with microneedling, no wonder I had a toxic overload. No wonder.
I would say another thing, and I think I hope it's some kind of a aha moment here. By the way, although we're having this conversation, which is a very, I would say, very opinionated conversation, I'm not a very opinionated guy. It means if you want to, someone asked if it's reversible, blah blah blah. I would say the thyroid, which we didn't reach, might not be reversible. But most things are reversible, or are at least not a big deal if you did them once, okay, or twice, or a series. Not a big deal. Is it good? No. Is there a point of diminishing return at one? Yes.
Yeah.
But not the end of the world. Okay. So same about numbing creams. But what I'm going to say right now is this, and I think it will connect to something I had our team reach out to you and want to have you on the podcast, etc., because I think you are a very cool person experimenting with not carnivore, but animal-based diet, etc. Even though I saw you eating a cookie, never mind. What I would say is
that's my animal base. This is my version.
I feel like an animal when I eat a cookie.
Yeah.
No, but I would say this. I think a lot of people would resonate with the fact that I'm saying this. If you have a problem hunting your own meat, that would signal to me that you should probably explore the way that meat gets to your table. If you're saying, I understand that is part of life, I don't think a vegan would have a very poignant opinion to convert you. Okay, obviously you want to be humane, etc. Why am I saying that? Same with all the treatments that we've just done. Consider this: can you do this treatment without analgesic, without numbing cream? Can you?
No.
If you can, I'll tell you, good luck. Experiment with it.
Yeah, it is. I've tried it because I actually didn't like numbing cream. I tried. And by the way, the numbing cream doesn't even numb. I still felt it to the point where I couldn't even finish some of my sessions. So,
well, there are other things. There are other responses in the body that are not necessarily interpreted as pain. Again, anxiety, things like that. So, the pressure and intense fluctuation of pressure is something that our skin and body are designed to avoid as well. So that's something to know. Heat, dragging on our skin, all of those things are unpleasant as they are, and we can definitely experience them even if we have a numbing cream. Aside from the fact that I'm sure one day is going to be, why am I saying all of that? Is because I'm sure one day there's going to be a healthy alternative for numbing cream. I'm still not on board with having something that requires a lot of numbing cream. Okay, so these are kind of the categories. There is also injections that melt tissue and fat. Kybella, for example.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Move on to this injectable. My one question was, for the people who have done these treatments and have not seen any result, like let's say they did a Morpheus, they've done several.
Just do more.
Right? They should just do more. But actually, it is kind of fascinating, no? Because there still should be that damage and inflammation. So they still should see something. And they haven't seen anything, which is obviously frustrating for them because if they're going to go through that process, pay the money, they'd rather see a little bit of something. I've known people that have come in and out of the med spa that saw nothing at all. I saw it for myself, saw nothing at all. I'm like, how is that possible with all this damage you're causing to the tissue that you don't see anything?
First of all, so that's not neither positive or negative. Again, what we're dealing with here, it could be that your system did not associate a lot of fluid to this process. So it basically didn't. There was not a lot of intake of fluid. Maybe you had a good lymphatic system, for example, or maybe you have done. People who swim normally will not see as much. True story. People who swim also have faster clearing of Botox because they have a lot of basically like a lot of pressure that is applied to them and then to their face, and then it helps the lymphatic system to kind of drain the Botox out.
Sure.
Obviously, you have experience with induced lymphatic drainage and Botox. But in general, if you were at the time doing lymphatic drainage, again, there was no material to push to your lymph nodes, which was what happened to you with Botox.
Right.
But there is fluid to push out that is associated with that inflammation. So maybe you had something like that. But your other question is like, maybe the end result was kind of where they started. And that is what I actually want to address more, which is actually what happened is that's what I'm trying to hammer home. Is that now you realize how minuscule the results are eventually. This is a very thin line of scarring. Mechanically, when I say mechanically, is how things flow together in your skin, how things interact with each other, glide on top of each other, relay kinetic energy one to another, your fascia, collagen matrix, etc. Mechanically, you have created a lot of damage, irreversible damage if you are doing it often, and obviously to the vasculature, which is, again, we spoke about it in the beginning. I would say that this is your number one age-fighting mechanism in your skin. And someone asked about Botox. That's what I said before. That we want as much blood circulation as we can to the skin. To the extent, by the way, that there are a bunch of doctors like 10, 15 years ago that lost their license because they were prescribing heart medication that expands blood vessels to people who wanted better skin. But bottom line is that...
I say a side note too. Niacin is a great way to get blood to the skin, healthy way.
I mean, to be honest, the best is red light therapy.
Red light therapy is amazing. You're absolutely right.
Obviously, we can take. There is a brand called, shout out to Numia, the parent brand is like it's a nitric oxide serum and cream. Shout out to them, great people. Having said that, if you are on any type of budget and you are looking to increase nitric oxide in the skin, the best way to do it, aside from not using Listerine or any mouthwash, the best way to do it is actually to use red light therapy. The thing that makes red light therapy stop being effective after 10, 20 minutes is that, among other things, that saturation of nitric oxide, of release of nitric oxide. So you can't do any better. So if you want to invest in Numia with a PA,
I'll look it up. I'll reach out to them.
Look it up. Dr. Nate Bryant, shout out to him. Having said that, this is an expensive product that you need to buy monthly. So I would still say it's not a lost cause. Like, just buy a red light therapy panel. $500 $600 would be great. Since we're mentioning
Did you mention
brands.
something in another podcast about they have to have a fan?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, correct. So I'll just say
good that my audience would love to know.
Yeah, so I'll just say good brands, just because people like shopping lists.
Yes.
A good brand would be like Mito Red, MITO Red. It would be BioLite. It would be, if you want to support bigger brands, I prefer not to, but if you want to support bigger brands, it would be like Juve or Platinum LEDs. Midwest Red Light Therapy, something like that, is a very small brand if you want to support them.
And these are the panels.
Yes.
These aren't like red light masks that you're referring to.
Now,
because everybody gets confused. I personally use a few red light masks, a few times a week, 20 minutes, 8 minutes, sometimes here and there. Whether or not I see a significant improvement or not, I can't fully say. Again, I come with the Tom Brady backing to my skin, so it's really hard to see any drastic improvement on anything across the board because my skin's already at a good place. But I have so many others that, are really wanting that extra repair and healing fast, and they need stuff that actually is going to make a big difference. I only speak on my own personal experience.
I would say
that I like ones. I can't say whether or not it's like this one's better than that.
I would say though, I would say a few things about that, and just when we get to the thyroid, just remind me to talk about red light therapy again. If someone asks about Loombox, EMR Tech, Huga, all good brands. EMR Tech, Dr. G, my friend, is involved with them. The Loombox brand actually sent me a panel. The lady is fantastic. I met her about a year ago.
I'm gonna have you send me a list. I'm gonna have you email me a list so I can post
fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, any brand, like literally pick a brand from the brand that I said, something that you like the name, I don't care what. The reason I mentioned the brands in the beginning that I have mentioned is because I know that they have good customer service. And when you have very, as I said before, it's a saturated market. Yeah. Everyone knows how to make a very decent panel. There are no bells and whistles you can add to it, really. Path LEDs is another one. They have a pulsed LED. Okay. I'm not a big believer, unless you're talking about brain health, not a big believer in pulsed. But anyway, bottom line, you asked the question about fans. Now, I'm going to give some very, 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 this I can definitely send you. Studies show that for skin health specifically, you need at least 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared as the power output. Okay? Masks, good. The best mask in the world does 20. Okay? Therefore, you're not getting the power that you deserve. Okay? Normally, again, the brands that I mentioned have about 50 to 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared, 50 to 90 at 6 inches. Okay? So basically like a fist from your face, for that matter. Okay? So not even like more than a fist. So that's just like a way to determine the power that you need. That's why masks are not great. How do you know if a product is strong enough or not? See if there is a cooling fan to cool the LEDs while they're working. If there is no cooling fan, it means the LED is not strong enough. It's less than 30. After 30, you need a cooling fan.
No mask is going to have a fan.
If it does, it's a very heavy mask to use. Yeah, yeah. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm not disregarding. That's why I think it's very important to like to look at stuff like that. I mean,
I have the TheraFace one that is a massive one that I love because it's only 8 minutes, and it does vibrations and all this, but it may not be.
No, it's not. Enough. Not only that, by the way, look at how marketing works.
Of course,
you like it because it's 8 minutes. But it's as strong as another product that's going to tell you 20 minutes. The fact that they said 8 minutes is because that way it's toasted. You understand me? Mm-hmm. That is there, it's toasted. When they say, hours, you only need 8 minutes. It's super, super, super random. Like it's as random as saying you need it for 1 minute.
You're right.
So,
makes sense.
So masks are okay if that's what you have.
Also,
go
So
for
I have a
it.
question about Bond Charge because that's the other one that I use.
That's it's an Australian brand.
Yeah, same thing, no?
Yeah,
No fan.
same. No fan.
So, okay. I'll be looking for the ones that Amate is we'll talk after this and I'll get some of your recommendations and I'll let everybody know what to look for now.
Yes, and definitely.
Somebody's looking at one right now.
Yes, but wait, don't buy it yet because Jamie can give you a coupon code.
I have to still partner with me, but yeah.
I will tell them to. How about me telling them to partner?
That'd be great.
Normally it's enough. If not, then Celuma is not good. I'm just gonna say that. I already.
I have because I had it in my office.
Let me just say that
Lightstim Celuma. Tell me right now.
Shout out to Lightstim because Lightstim I call them the Walmart of red light therapy because they went big in the beginning. They carried this industry on their back. Okay.
True.
I would not buy their $2,000 panel that is a little bit adjustable, that is kind of specifically for the face, because the minute you go out of the traditional mold that China just cranks out, you're going to pay for this in customization. And who's paying for it at the end of the day? Us, the consumer. But as far as like LEDs, shout out to Lightstim. By the way, known them for sure over a decade. They're handheld. I'm not going to tell you that's what you need to do, but that is an okay. If you ask me about the $200 product, that's the best $200 product, or however much they're selling it for.
So the handheld is still a better option than most.
A better option, yeah.
Sure.
They're again, they deserve. Someone's
been on the forefront. They are something that I knew, in my professional career. That's what I started with was Lightstim.
Celuma is, anyone here go to AliExpress or Alibaba and look for like red light therapy, and you'll see you will see something that looks like Celuma that they sell for $45, and $45. I'm being gentle, if not $4.
I'm shocked because I feel like I am the one who will uncover all the BS and call everybody out. I have a Celuma. I've had it for years, and I never dug into this. And I dug into all the stuff in Alibaba. I call everyone out. Shawnee Darden, all the BS masks out there. Go to Alibaba. They're all hacks. They're all
so let's make a rule. First of all, no fans. Number 2,
no fans.
Let's make a rule. Stick to molds that are very common in the market, because you are sharing. It's like insurance, even though but it's like you are Lima Light, not good, but Lima Laser, not good anyway. But stick to molds that are cranked out of China. I know. I look, we have an entire skincare company that you pay more because we avoid producing anything, including bottles in China.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
or not, right? But here, on the other hand, I'm telling you, every red light therapy is made in China, aside from one company called Chroma. And shout out to Chroma, getchroma.co, but that's not really for skin health, okay? They're all made in China, so at least get something that the Chinese know how to make well, and a lot of it, okay? Therefore, these panels are cranked out, thousands by the day. Everyone is sharing that price. If you have a custom mold, you are sharing, the pool of people you're sharing the price with is smaller, like insurance. So you're paying more. You're paying a premium for that. Okay? Anything that moves, anything that you need to move on the skin is a scam. Okay?
Handheld Lightstim.
Yeah, I'm saying, but you need to hold it. Yeah. You literally need to hold it
too, no? Okay.
Don't move. Don't move it.
Just
no. Anything that you have a kind of it works like imagine how you flip a switch. We think you flip a switch in one time, but really you're accumulating pressure until the switch flips, right? Your mitochondria is like millions of flips. Elever, not good. Not good.
I like the
Elever, not good. But imagine pressing on the mitochondrial flip, and you have millions of them. That's what red light therapy does. It stimulates mitochondria, and you need accumulation of pressure. So if I have millions of switches and I move I create a little bit of pressure, create, and move. I've never flipped a switch. I don't know if that's a good example to
No, it is.
I normally give a gearbox example, but I'm fearing I'm going to lose a lot of people there.
No, I think that was so.
But it requires accumulation of
Omnilux.
Omnilux is an OG. Omnilux used to be.
I find them Alibaba vibes.
Oh, they are Alibaba vibes, but I just want to say that Omnilux started like 99% of the protocols in the industry are by Omnilux. Actually, they've been copied by people copying Omnilux.
Okay.
The problem is Omnilux made a strategic decision to go after the consumer market and started creating masks. And it's funny, I sat over a 1-year-old's birthday table with a dermatologist, very opinionated one,
that my favorite.
declared Omnilux is the only red light therapy mask that is good. And because I'm, don't poke the bear, we went and I literally pulled up the Bible of red light therapy by a guy named Hamlin, who was the head of the Harvard facility for the research of therapeutic light. It's actually Mass General, but it's by Harvard, the facility. And I showed her the parameters that you need, and then we went to Omnilux, and I showed her that doesn't conform with those parameters. And then she asked me, so how come so many doctors support it? And then she answered her own question. That's because they get money from it. So it's the same thing. Again, you don't have it. So I see a bunch of questions like, what about this? Guys, first of all, if you have a panel, use it.
Yeah.
If you have anything, use it. Now, if you are in a decision-making point, stop and say, does this have a fan? Yes or no? No, that's not the right choice, period.
And I will send you guys the right choice. Also,
she's going to have
yes, I will make sure everybody gets that, but also maybe we should come out with the right kind of
no because
I want to make sure that myself, that my people, everybody gets the proper red light. I think, look at all the hearts went up as soon as I said
that.
But
I will tell you something about that. What I'm interested in is innovation and to push the industry forward. That's my credo. I don't think that the innovation with red light therapy is innovation in the lowering the cost, because really there's very little. I think, shout out to Dr. Neil Polvin, the great in New York, if anyone's looking
Dr.
for.
Dennis Gross, absolutely.
Yeah, but Dr. Neil Polvin in New York, if anyone's looking for peptides, or a longevity doctor in New York, Dr. Neil Polvin, said that he predicts that in 2025, that's going to be the year of at-home red light therapy, that he thinks anyone who's interested in health is going to have red light therapy at home. I agree. For that to happen, it's not about more innovation. It's about lowering the costs. So I want to see and that's not my vibe. My vibe is, we are the first company who ever made NAD skincare, the first company. We coined the term bioretinol, which I did not trademark, and now we see it everywhere. We are the first one who did
which, by the way, I've been trying, because a lot of people know that I've been, this is my trial period with Young Goose of giving you guys a shot. Obviously, you can see my skin with the bioretinol is non-reactive at all, which is what my concern was. So bioretinol is a completely different form of retinol, which is probably the only one I will ever, speak about or support compared to retinaldehyde or with retinaldehyde.
Yeah.
But those are the only two. So retinol is different.
And we have doctors like, for example, Erica Klemper of Wellderm in Santa Barbara, who actually prescribes tretinoin together with bioretinol. So you can do a lot of things. But the bottom line is, my vibe, I know, that's not me. But don't do it. I know, but I like her.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, what I want to say is, we are interested in pushing the envelope. I'll give you a small example and I'll move on, because I want to make sure we give as much value. But we pioneered an ingredient that is very easy to bypass the patent of, that is called ectoin. And now ectoin is everywhere. It is, I say, everything hyaluronic acid wished it were. So ectoin is now everywhere. That is what I want to do. I want to create formulations which other companies are saying, I want to do the same, and at different price points, because innovators are always expensive. Okay. Anyway, talking about the thyroid. The thyroid, actually, there are many studies, and I sent you actually those studies, Jamie. So you can definitely post them or whatever you want to do, showing that the thyroid actually is being affected even by ambient temperature, which means that people who have been working in high temperature environments actually have impaired thyroid function. So I think it's very important to understand, when we're elevating a tissue temperature, you have a bell curve of that temperature. Most of it is at one area, but there is a sharing of temperature in the tissue. And even at sub-damaging temperatures, over actually 41 degrees Celsius, which is 104 Fahrenheit, around a little bit like 102 maybe Fahrenheit, the thyroid is already getting a kind of an accumulation of impairment. Therefore, and actually I've disseminated this information with some experts that are going to start to talk about it soon, because no one did this crossroads that you and I are in, which is kind of wellness, beauty, gadgets, stuff like that, doesn't really exist yet in the market. So it takes someone like you or I to kind of make sure the real experts are talking about it or considering what I said. So saunas are a little bit different. And by the way, that is the especially infrared saunas are expressing, no, actually not only infrared saunas, but are expressing something called HSP, or heat shock proteins, and that is caused by core temperature. So these have the ability to mitigate some of that damage when it's short term. By the way, also funny enough, there's an anecdote. Ice baths, although they're expressing something called cold shock proteins, it's actually the same proteins. They are heat shock proteins but they're triggered by lower body temperatures. But anyway, these can mitigate some of the damage or some of the inflammation associated, but they are not, the smaller the area we expose to the heat, the less we get that expression of HSP. So when we expose something like thyroid to increased temperatures from a stimulatory device, we are impairing the activity of the thyroid. And if you have other things that are going on at the same time, by the way, one of the things we mentioned is the axis that is responsible for stress signals in the brain, the HPA axis. These things together, again, impaired adrenal or adrenal fatigue, for example, all of those things together can create an irreversible result. Fortunately, anyone who's done those treatments, it doesn't have to be like that. You need kind of the perfect storm, but we can get an irreversible result, or a result that's much harder to reverse. Now, because I told you, I asked you to.
Really eager for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, since you sent me that, I started doing. Again, though, I don't know if it's anything powerful enough to make a difference. I use my red light neck, and I use my Saluma.
Another thing about Saluma, why it's not so. I started a rant about like buying things that are actually commonly used. One of the things that Saluma doesn't do, because they use these pliable materials, aside from the fact that these are Christmas lights, is that they don't use. Yes, please. But they don't. Another thing bad that they're doing is combining blue and red, but they don't use a focal lens. So if you look at, if you think about your car, the ones that have older lights that are not LEDs, or if you think about the LEDs in your panel, they have a housing, kind of reflective housing. And that housing takes the 180-degree light that the LED produces and concentrates it to either 60 or 30 degrees. Celluma, for example, or devices that don't do it, do not actually provide wavelengths that go to the same place. They have wavelengths that kind of go in 180 degrees. So you're getting a fraction of that wavelength to actually hit your skin in an absorbable angle.
Well, it's no
if it makes sense.
wonder. I mean, I haven't had any, I've put it on my neck for 2 years now to try and, heal neck injury. And I feel like I've had zero changes in my neck.
No. You could do it again, like that one I would recommend getchroma.co.
Okay.
The guy is actually very interesting scientist, kind of abrasive.
Great.
So I'm not recommending him because he's the nicest guy in the world. Just his product is really amazing for specifically for things like you mentioned right now, like more bodily injuries or
pain and inflammation. And that's what I think everybody is looking for, is the best options. And a lot of my clients and audience are very high tech, and they're really, super invested in their health and in their skin. So I think that they would love to know what the best option is, price point or no. I mean, they can make that decision themselves, but if they're going to be spending $300 on bullshit, excuse my French, or they're going to spend $600 on something that could really work, or $1,000, whatever that cost is. I think that that would be really helpful for people to invest the right way. I'm that type.
I can't believe someone asked about Bioptron. Bioptron is really cool.
See, my audience knows their
stuff. It's a technology from '84 from a Hungarian innovator. And actually, the reason that you're hearing about it now is because there is competition to Bioptron because the patent is outdated. It is not. It is a non-polar, it's a hyperpolarized light, but it's an incandescent light bulb, which then uses a kind of a mesh to polarize the light, which back then allowed you to actually have high enough intensity to absorb into the tissue. I would say, and then I'm going to address the Lima question that comes up again. So I have to. I would say that today, because the Biotron, if I remember correctly, like the lower entry point there is a couple $1,000 or even $3 or $4. A panel will give you similar results. But again, Lima is a product you're going to move on your face. So that's an immediate no. Number two, we need to balance the output. So again, we don't actually need crazy output, and crazy output over 150 milliwatts per centimeter squared doesn't have better results. And I can definitely explain that, but that's called a biphasic dose response. It means that you have a Goldilocks zone, and if you deviate from it to either side, you're irrelevant. So the Lima laser cannot sell itself as a stronger device. Or if you listen to like Gary Brecka saying, "Oh, our bed is the strongest," or something like that. First of all, it's not true what he said. Number two, that doesn't matter. Number two, or number three now, you move it on your face. Number four, it's a laser. So what happens in a laser, we get actually a kind of first of all, they have one maybe laser diode, and the rest are LEDs, okay? So what they're doing is they put just enough to call it a laser, but what you're seeing and what you're getting impressed by and what you're feeling and whatever, it's not a laser. And if you're already asking me about the lasers, because there is a mask that says lasers as well. Lasers are, think of a laser pointer. How many diodes would you need to cover your face with energy from a laser pointer? Significant, a lot, right? Laser takes a wide focal range, focal lens, and concentrates it to a straight line-ish, okay? What it would create is very high intensity of energy to a very small surface, and then you have dead surface. You have no light exposure around that, okay? So unless you're going to invest in some crazy device that has millions of laser diodes to cover your entire face, you're actually not providing full coverage. Why are people like myself saying be at least 6 inches, if not 12, 18, 24 inches away from your light panel. Why? It's actually to create even coverage. Right? So that's why, again, like Seluma, again, saying, oh, should put it as close as possible. Again, part of their incomprehensible take on light therapy. They're very expensive for no reason.
And they're very expensive. Great.
And also they're very aggressive, going after people who say that they're not good, like myself. So
that.
Yeah. So, but again, the best, just go to Alibaba, see that they're trying to sell you 2,200 or.
Again, we're not going to even have to go to Alibaba because you're going to send me the best ones to get, and I'm going to tell everybody what you have sent me. You're not. Yeah. So I think, for everybody, thank you so much that have joined and participated and everything. I think this was some great information, and I'll obviously save this to my account and have you as a collaborator to have this to refer back to. And you and I will obviously continue to communicate and kind of give some people the best possible options for things out there and just some more knowledge about.
I would say to you, I don't know if you have the green tea phyto serum. If not, we'll fix it.
I actually was emailing with Ruby yesterday. I need to get a few more things because I obviously need to test everything out before I start speaking. So far everything's great. I just need to go even further.
So just to let you know, the reason I wanted you to try the green tea phyto serum is because we based it on a German research showing that it doubles the effects of red light therapy. And if anyone wants to take their time, it's a great product, but in about 6 months-ish, I don't actually know when, we're going to launch a new version of it, which actually has really crazy photosomes, which are like DNA repair enzymes that are activated by red light. So they absorb it.
I love that.
Wow.
We need to get a body lotion with
body
as well.
Lotion. The body lotion is almost ready, and we are working to develop an alternative, and that's something. Again, like, what is the problem? The problem is green tea phyto serum costs $175. I'm not in the market of like getting people broke, but we do want to push the envelope. So we are working with a few red light therapy companies to create a very inexpensive alternatives. Peptides are overhyped. A very inexpensive alternative
in the skin.
In
skincare.
Yes.
Other than that,
peptides. I'm saying
injectables and
yes. I'm saying that we're gonna make products for other companies, and you're gonna know it's gonna say with Young Goose or something like that, that are way more affordable, that can be used on the entire body, etc. Yes. Now I would say one thing about peptides, and that's important. We use peptides. So I think
peptides in skincare also have their place, but
they do.
Peptides.
They do, but they are an ancillary ingredient. They are an ingredient that mainly is there as almost like a nod to topping it off. Okay, if you buy a product, and I feel like I think I'm not getting this point through. Peptides are almost completely ineffective in the skin. So GHKC or copper peptide, if you injected it or if you applied it topically, you're getting 2% of its effectiveness. 2%. Okay, if it's pharmaceutical grade, like we use, 3%. Okay, so don't base your decisions on peptides. They're fragile. They don't survive your acid mantle. Even if they do, and they survived months upon months being in the bottle, which those two are already. If they did that, you should go fill up a lottery ticket as well. Your skin has a very hard time using them, transporting them where they need it. Peptide injectables, oral peptides, some peptides, not all of them, oral peptides. That's the way to go, but that's a journey that I recommend other people, not myself, maybe Jamie, but not myself, to be the one that is guiding you there. Okay, I can tell you from research, they are not great in the skin. Go have a journey that is injectable or oral. Level Up Health, probably.
Copper peptides is what.
Level Up Health.
Yeah,
I think it's health.
I partner with Level Up. They're a great company. My boyfriend obviously does all of our peptide protocol. We get them from Limitless. There's a lot of Limitless.
Shout out to Jay Campbell.
Yeah. And, we're a huge, huge peptide household because I've seen personally what it's done for me with my MCAS.
Yeah.
It is like the minute I started on my peptide protocol, I feel like within 30 days, a lot has changed. I mean, I'm like 100% better.
And if someone's wondering how good can they be? Well, GLP-1 is a peptide. Semaglutide, Ozempic, whatever, Mounjaro.
So clearly, they work.
These are peptides.
Have you seen, by the way, this is going to be like kind of off topic for everybody, but have you seen the studies where the GLP-1s are actually, they're kind of misunderstood?
A longevity compound. They're a longevity compound. I think they are. So again, shout out to Neil Polvin. That he's the one who educated me about it way back when. But GLP-1 is pretty incredible. I am taking a product called ISO Alpha, so GLP-1 normally are activated by bitter sensations in the stomach. And aside,
you get nauseous on them in the beginning.
Basically, no, but the way that you normally are, so GLP-1s is a short. So basically, let's choose one like Ozempic. Okay, it is a GLP-1 agonist. It is a GLP-1 instigator. Okay, of something that you have naturally in your body, which is a glucagon-like peptide 1, and they are normally expressed by something, among other things, by the sensation of bitterness in the stomach. So why I take it for, I'm not losing weight over it. I actually
there's ways to take it
but I'm taking it orally because it actually improves my vagal nerve function.
Yes,
it's good for the brain.
Yes. And we're exploring that now because I was pretty outspoken about my opinions on Ozempic for a while. And now we're learning about kind of the importance of some of these and actually some pretty incredible results.
But they're normally prescribed in different...
right.
They are more microdosed when you're
looking... Exactly. Yeah. I'll get further into that. We always do this. I feel like we talk forever.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate your time. And I will, for everybody asked about the peptide stuff, I have a link in my bio. You can book a consultation to learn more about that. And I will link, Young Goose Skincare. This is a product line that I've been testing out, and I will share more on all of my experience with it. So far, so good. Really loving everything. That does not mean that I'm, not recommending osmosis. I am now upgrading to, have more of an option for those who are looking to, maybe they don't like osmosis or maybe they want like a more elevated option. This is where Young Goose is going to come in. And I'll be offering it soon. We're still working out all of those details. And then, and the red light panels and all this stuff, if you don't mind sending that.
Yes.
I can kind of provide
and
everybody.
Shout out to the small company, tiny company, ISO Alpha. That's the thing I'm taking for the brain. Shout out to them. They're great.
Good. We love a small company. No mass producing where the quality of the ingredients is compromised. Smaller, better.
If anyone doesn't remember that, I actually did a review for them, not solicited one, on my small Instagram page, Amitai Eshel, so you can find it there.
Okay, and also just send me and I'll make sure that I put it up so that I'll just put it on the comment section for everybody.
Guys, behind the scenes, I think it's important. Sometimes I wanna tell you something, and this is again unsolicited. I love Jamie, what she does, the behind the scenes communication, her curiosity. She doesn't like that I say that she has an open mind, but she has a very open mind. She is, I think, what this industry needs. And if anyone knows Young Goose, and it seems by the comments, a lot of people know Young Goose here, we're very selective. So it's a great pleasure to experience Jamie's professionalism and her curiosity and her depth of knowledge. So if you didn't know, now you know.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And obviously, yeah, I'm open-minded. I'm just specific and very particular.
Yeah.
And I'm honest about it. So anyway, I'm gonna say thank you so much for your time. I would love to do another live.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Anytime, all the time.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. See you, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.